All right, let's get into this.
Hello, start this gangsta show. Mr. Mother, thanks I get. Hello, I
All right. Hey, thank you so much. Welcome to Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I am Ethan Van Sciver, 25-year veteran of this comic book industry. I'm the artist of Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life and the creator of Cyberfrog Blood Honey, which is the largest selling crowdfunded comic book of all time at $538,000. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, that is why the comic book garbage tier media is chasing me down right now. I represent a movement called COMICSGATE, I believe. I try my best to represent it. And the morals that I have listed and espoused, the ethics that COMICSGATE represents. The mainstream comic book media, the mainstream comic book industry, I should say, and the media refuses to allow us peace. They just won't. They won't allow us to do our own thing. They don't really matter. We don't really need them, but they're going to continue to do organized, targeted harassment campaigns against us. Now, again, I left DC Comics in February. I quit. I couldn't quit. I had to do a bunch of more issues to fulfill my contract. I did them all. DC let me out one issue early when I said, please let me go. I want to do Cyberfrog. They did. They were good enough to let me leave one issue early. In May, I began planning to do Cyberfrog Blood Honey. When I left, I started to receive messages from, I received a bunch of harassment. I received a bunch of messages from Rich Johnston over at Bleeding Cool, and he wanted to talk to me about why I left DC Comics and whether or not I was fired from DC Comics, because he claimed to have inside information, which would be interesting. I would like to know. He knew stuff that I didn't know, to be fair. I mean, he said stuff like, there are a bunch of writers who all got together and claimed that they wouldn't work with you. And that was one of the reasons why DC was upset. And I said, nobody ever told me this. And also, I never invited anyone to work with me. So a bunch of people saying, I refuse to work with Ethan Van Sciver is interesting on an academic level, but I'm not inviting people to work with me. So that's okay. I don't think that was the reason. I think that was just part of the weirdo conspiracy stuff that Rich Johnston and others on the left, SJWs, had in their head. Rich Johnston, I started talking to him about this article he wanted to write. He said, I'm writing an article. I said, great, I'll do it. I'll be involved under these circumstances. No dirty tricks, no weirdo, no pulling in weirdos like Tim Doyle or Richard Pace after the fact and having them write essays about how I'm a horrible scumbag. I just want a one-on-one interview with you, and I'll talk to you. And he agreed to all of these things. Those are the circumstances under which I will talk to Rich Johnston at Bleeding Cool. One-on-one conversation. No dog pile, no lies that I am not free to edit or explain away before they go to print. Talk to me. He agreed. We did. This was about 3 months ago. We did a big interview, which still has not run. Why hasn't it run? It hasn't run because I don't think they like the way it went. Here's a piece of it right here. Let me just show you. This is my commentary here. Hi, thank you, babe. Oh, my wife just brought me a nice hamburger for lunch. It seems like whoever has the most power gets to decide who is being abusive, quote, and hateful. And in comics, SJWs and the extreme leftists have become so powerful that normal people are afraid of them, afraid of being terrorized by them, having their shops vandalized, being persecuted, in articles like this one, threatened with physical violence, unpersoned and degraded by creeps, afraid of having private investigators dig up personal and financial information with which to publicly humiliate them, afraid of attending conventions for fear of physical assault, which is openly fantasized about on message boards and Twitter. Executives, powerful people at the Big Two, are among the terrorized, whispering about having to make poor business decisions to appease these leftist jackals, apologizing, promising it'll be over soon, and things will return to normal. The result is evident. Comic sales are declining at a rate so severe that Batman comics can barely break 100,000 copies sold without a special event to promote them, or without 50 variant covers. comic shops are going out of business while an underground group of extremist busybodies plot to harass retailers that might want to stock a graphic novel that is manifestly desired by customers. While comics quote-unquote journalists such as yourself meet together in secret Discord chats to arrange harassment campaigns against right-wingers in comics, organizing strings of dishonest articles that all say the same thing: right-wingers are not welcome. Unpleasant, far left-wing extremists with no spending money are using comics as a means of promoting a social agenda that normal people don't want to pay to read about. And they're using that social agenda to call ordinary people monsters. I ally myself with the fans, not with diversity in comics. It's just that the fans have allied themselves with him too. Yeah, so here he is. That's pretty much what the entire interview sounds like. And I feel like I stood up for COMICSGATE. I feel like I stood up for myself pretty well. And that is why that article, that interview with Rich Johnston has not yet, to this day, run. Today, he sent me a disorganized, poorly edited version of the article under the guise of wanting to run it. The whole reason why he did that was essentially because he wanted to get a comment from me, a new comment from me about this situation. And that's important. It's important that I do comment on this. I'm happy to do so. I'll do it for you. I'm not gonna do it for him. Marcia Cook, Ethan Van Sciver, COMICSGATE, and Darwin Cook's legacy. So, while Cyberfrog was running as an Indiegogo campaign, there was a long 2-month stretch of no SJWs harassing COMICSGATE. It really just didn't happen. There weren't harassment campaigns. Everyone was very quiet and peaceful. It was very nice. Twitter was calm. Everyone kind of wondered why no comic book media was commenting on the outrageous success of Cyberfrog. Certainly, crowdfunded comic book, a single issue, raising significantly more than $500,000 should raise some eyebrows, would make some interesting articles, would challenge some, existing, ideas about where comics were, where the fans were. But no, nothing like that happened. There weren't any articles like that, and I didn't expect there to be any. But of course, once the campaign ended, and it has, and the smoke has cleared, and it has, a new strategy had to be implemented to hurt COMICSGATE, because essentially COMICSGATE is a challenge to mainstream comics. It's a challenge to the SJWs who have hijacked mainstream comics. Get your acts together. Stop it. Stop harassing your customers. Stop calling them names. Stop calling them bigots. Stop making unwanted, unnecessary social justice-inspired changes to classic characters that you did not create. Knock it off. Stop it. It's killing comics. Get your people under control on social media. That is what we are saying, and that incredible success with Cyberfrog was alarming. It opened a lot of people's eyes. It opened their ears. They were concerned about it. Could we be right? Better shut us down. So anyway, I was doing a live chat here on Comic Artist Pro Secrets. We had Billy Tucci on, and Billy Tucci, we were all talking about Darwin Cook. Now, we all love Darwin Cook. I knew Darwin Cook as a kind of good acquaintance, just a fun acquaintance. And I would see him at a few conventions, and he'd slap me on the back. Occasionally he bought me a beer. He was just a nice guy. He always made me laugh. He was very, very funny, just wickedly funny, and a great guy. And he would always kind of wink and nod about politics. Billy would say things to me like, hey, he's one of us, And I'd look at Darwin, I'd be like, what? And he would just look at me and go, well, it's shrug, okay? So he's Canadian, he wasn't, an American, and so he didn't really care about American politics too much. And I'm told by Billy that Darwin hated Trump. Like, Darwin would not have, were he an American, and had he lived to see the election, he would not have voted for Donald Trump. And that's all interesting, and that all goes to part of what this article is about. But during this live stream, Billy came out and said Darwin would totally have been COMICSGATE. Now, and I said, yeah. Well, just based on what I know. I mean, if Billy's going to say that, I'll be like, well, sure. Based on what I've seen and what I heard, what I remember about him, maybe he would have. And then somebody produced a video where Darwin Cook is actually speaking. I mean, saying things like, what is wrong with comics? What's wrong with superhero comics? And Darwin is basically spouting a COMICSGATE line that is unreal. I mean, it really is dead on what COMICSGATers have been complaining about. What the main complaint is, that these characters are being changed, that comics, these superheroes are not being written for kids anymore. They're being written for adults, given... I don't know, like there are all these moments of degeneracy. There are scenes of rape and violence that are disgusting and don't belong in these superhero comics. And that was what Darwin was complaining about. He says, you don't take these characters, you don't take a character that has existed for 50 years and then announce that he's gay when he's never been gay before. It's just not something that you do. Those were Darwin's words, and that video is available, on YouTube. That's interesting. So somebody posted that video on Twitter, and I think I clicked like on it. I might have hit a like on it. I don't remember, but I did see that video. I think they aimed it at me and Billy. So all of a sudden, let's go through this article here, and let's see where this article represents reality accurately, and where it veers into garbage tier, which it will almost immediately, and you'll see. This is Marcia Cook is the widow of comic book creator Darwin Cook, a prominent presence at comic conventions. It's a garbage tier. It's like fucking Rich Johnston. She is forthright in her opinions, yes, and I know from personal experience that it's not the greatest position to be on the wrong side of her. Why? What'd you do to her, Richard? Recently, someone on Twitter, and by the way, this someone on Twitter, you're going to see in a second, I'll tell you once we see his tweet, claimed that Darwin would have supported the COMICSGATE crowd. Those who want the content of comics to be traditional in the way that never actually existed, and not created by people they seem to wish didn't exist. See, this is just garbage, just absolutely garbage. Marcia wasn't as sure and pointed this out. All right, so here's the original tweet. This guy, Grom, now people thought that he was fake, like this was a fake account. No, Grom has sent me messages in private apologizing profusely for this. He disappeared from Twitter because he really felt bad about this. He felt like this was, his fault. Here's the video. Thanks for the story about Darwin Cook tonight, guys. It was me and Billy talking with a bunch of other artists, James Hudnall, Mitch Breitweiser, Doug TenNapel, Edwin Boyette, Nurkish. My favorite artist. Here is a video that shows he would have been COMICSGATE. Oh, that's interesting. So let's see. Is that linkable? Let's see. Try again. No, it's just a picture. Okay. So we don't get to listen to the video. Oh, the screen's really dirty. That's what happens. It's all fingerprints. Come on. That's a long, stupid article that takes forever to load, but fortunately. All right, so we don't get to see it, but this is the video in question where Darwin explains what he feels is wrong with comics. Now, is this just Darwin in a mood that day? I don't know. I have no way of knowing it, but this is interesting. So this is Darwin's wife. She pops up. She says, "Hi guys, this is Darwin's wife, and I can guarantee he thought you COMICSGATE idiots were a bunch of crybaby losers ruining comics. Because you are." All right, well, that's not nice. Nobody was saying anything bad about Darwin. Also, COMICSGATE didn't exist concurrent with Darwin Cook's life. Darwin Cook left this world sometime in 2016, I think June of 2016. And COMICSGATE didn't officially become a thing until May of 2017. So Darwin never knew COMICSGATE. But nobody knows. Nobody knows better than Marcia about how Darwin felt. She lived with him most of the time. And then here we go directly to the guy. "Hi, Grom. I can guarantee Darwin Cook thought you and your baby man friends were embarrassments to comics and can take a walk anytime." All right. This resulted in a slew of people doubting she was Darwin's widow. That's fair. Criticizing her for getting involved, because her name is not, Marcia Cook here. It's the nicest girl ever, and we see people like this on Twitter all the time. I mean, so some people didn't know. I didn't know at first either. I wasn't even paying attention. I was off in another world, doing my thing, drawing frogs. Criticizing her for getting involved and making all sorts of accusations regarding her status. Forgive me if I don't include them here. You can search for them if you really want. You don't really want. I mean, people were saying ugly things to her because she said some not nice things about them. Ethan Van Sciver, a controversial creator and leading figure for much of COMICSGATE. Do you think so? Well, I accept that I'm controversial. I'll just add that to my list of accomplishments. But leading figure of COMICSGATE, that is up for debate. Some people say I'm not. Some people say I am not a leading figure of COMICSGATE. But I don't know. When it's convenient, I am, I suppose. Had his own take on this, which started out relatively neutral. I didn't really have a take at all, and you'll see that in a second. Dan Panosian says, not according to his wife or any of his close friends. Certainly many things can improve with comic book publishing, and he recognized this, I should say. And I said, Darwin always went his own way, against peer pressure, with his own conscience. And that's correct. I mean, Darwin, the frustrating thing about Darwin is that he would never do what you hoped he would do. I said to him one time, I said, I wish that you would do a sequel to A New Frontier that took place during the Nixon era. Right when things were starting to change at DC Comics, right when, it was all about Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams and, the social changes, the Vietnam War, all these things. Be a really neat, subject, a really neat era for you to do another DC superhero book about. And he looked like he'd heard that before. And he just kind of said, he's like, no, I don't want to. He's like, I'm just not interested. I'm not interested. And he had his own reasons why. I don't want to try to remember them because I might get them wrong. But he showed me a bunch of pages from a film noir kind of book that he was doing over at Dark Horse, I believe. And he was very excited about that. And it was like, okay, look, Darwin will not, you can't get from Darwin what you want from Darwin all the time because Darwin is going to do his own thing. And that was an impression that he left about himself that I think everybody recognized. Everybody recognized that about him. And I admired it too. It was frustrating and yet it was inspiring. It was kind of like, look, it doesn't matter what everybody wants from you. You have to stay true to yourself. You have to stay true to yourself. Now, Dan Panosian and I went back and forth twice. Dan said, I think you conducted yourself really respectfully here. And that was kind of him. I don't think Dan and I probably agree on very much, but I think we can agree about a couple of kind of iconic ideas about who Darwin Cook was, the same way we would, and normal people would be able to agree about who Elvis Presley was. And still, it wouldn't be saying, hey, we know Elvis better than Priscilla Presley does. No, but there are things that Darwin definitely represented to his fans and to his peers that just mean so much, and they're just a big part of his legacy. Having said that, do we know how he'd feel about COMICSGATE? No. All we have is we have that video and we have our personal interactions with him. We didn't live with him, though, so that is absolutely right. Others went further into traditional COMICSGATE territory, leading Marcia to ask, now look at this, here's some transphobia here. Uncle Mags. Mags Visaggio is a transgendered writer, and I love Mags. I think Mags is great. She and I have had personal interactions and private messages for a year now, because I said to her, I actually talked to her last week, and I said, you and I are like at the center of this whole conflict. So COMICSGATE, it seems like you and I are at the center of it. You receive probably the most harassment from the right, and I've seen the harassment Mags gets, and it's ugly. And I said, and I think I probably receive the most harassment, aside from Richard Johnston, but Zach. I think I receive the most harassment other than him on the right. I'm a lightning rod for it. Zach is too, but Zach sets himself up for being a lightning rod. He's asking for it. I don't feel like I am. I feel like I'm just trying to do my own thing, but I think I represent success as a conservative in comics or a Republican in comics, and therefore I am going to be harassed, and that is part of my life. So here's Marcia again, and she says, "Hi guys, I'm right here, and Ethan, it looks like your friends are being transphobic, so these are my friends." I don't know this person. I don't know this person. Never met this person. Never spoke to this person, and never told this person to be say awful things about Mags. In fact, I've only ever said publicly wonderful things about Mags Fasaggio, and Mags will tell you that. We disagree strongly about everything, and it's frustrating trying to talk to Mags because it's like I think Mags and I get along. It's just that we can't come to terms, and in this day and age, that is a difficult thing. So it looks like your friends are being transphobic. I'm sure you wouldn't want to support anything like that, would you? I mean, that's bait. You know, I can't come out and apologize for people I don't know. I can't. I know that this person is talking, and this person might even say, "Hey, I'm a COMICSGATE supporter." Well, you know, I can't come out and it's not my place to apologize for people I don't know. That would kind of indicate that I have power over people, and I really don't believe I have. I believe I have influence on people to some degree, and I use that influence in a positive way. If you watch my videos, and you see the things that I say on Twitter, I don't believe I've ever said anything that was transphobic, and I think on the contrary, I have told people that, and I've tweeted out that misgendering people is unkind and should never happen, and I can't be in support of it. Again, I've this person doesn't represent me. You certainly would ask your friends to stop bringing my name up, right? Because I haven't seen that yet. They're not my friends, and I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't ask for any of this. I'm just sitting here minding my own business, and this descends upon me and is aimed at me, and I don't know why it's aimed at me. What exactly did I do? People are talking to me about this. And then more transphobia, hi guys, I'm right here, and Ethan. Okay, so this is my answer to this situation, and I advise Marcia as such. I mean, I've been through such incredible nasty harassment myself, and you can see it. All you have to do is, I think, Twitter search my name or Google my name, and you'll see it. You'll see the type of garbage I receive day in and day out. And how I've learned to deal with it, and how I thought compassionately was advising Marcia to deal with it, is to say I've been pretty happy to mute people who are harassing me on Twitter, Marcia, or block them. People who use my name spitefully, who lie about me and torment me and my family over political differences. It just goes a long way towards peace of mind. Just mute them. Yeah. She says, I find what goes a long way is for their ringleader. She's accusing me of being the ringleader of this, and my part in this was to agree on a video, kind of offhandedly, that Darwin Cook would have been comfortable with COMICSGATE. Mea culpa, I guess, but this is not me. I didn't do this. Use his dog whistle, so I'm telling people to do this, I guess, to call his babies home. But sure, these children are whipped up by you. I mean, that's not even close to being true. And it's pathetic that you can't say, leave her alone to them. Cowards, all of you. Give me a minute. What do you really think Darwin could do right now, Ethan? Tell a widow to use mute or stand up to a bunch of idiots. I know the answer. So the whole time, at this point now I'm engaged. They've got my attention. And I know this. I know what this is. Okay, I pretty much know what this is, and I know that I've got to do a couple of things here. One is I've got to be extremely respectful to Marcia. She's a widow, and I cannot comprehend her pain, her loneliness, her loss. I can't comprehend it. I can't. None of us can, unless you've been through it. Also, I am not going to accuse my fans. And I don't consider these people my fans, people who are being transphobic. I'm not going to accuse them of doing anything wrong. I'm not going to. I'm sorry. I'm not going to go along with this false narrative about what COMICSGATE is and what it means just to get this article to not be written. It would be written. It would just be written a different way, probably even more viciously, and just to get this uncomfortable moment to end, because it will not end. So my response, again, The comics industry, and this is absolutely true, has become incredibly cruel, Marcia, and I don't wish you to endure the abuse that I have over the past few months. But I've learned quite a bit about how the internet works and how mobs are manipulated and weaponized into endless conflict, and this isn't okay. In other words, that's what's going on right now. And by the way, if you want to whip this up and make it worse, getting involved in this way is the way to do it. She says, and it's for a moment like I felt compassion. It's like I felt the Marcia that I knew kind of come back, and she just says, Ethan, I know you felt isolated from the general industry, but you need to know it is because most people feel you are stoking a dangerous group of fans that hate women. Now, I will tell you who is stoking a dangerous group of fans, full of hate, people who hate anyone on the right, people who are not social justice warriors. That is social justice warriors. They are now talking about how civility didn't work. They're talking about how violence might be the answer. They're talking about punching Nazis. And by the way, everyone who doesn't agree with them is a Nazi. They are cruel, nasty people who are hiring private investigators to look into people's finances. They dox people. They get them fired from their jobs. They sick actual harassment on people. I know. I've seen it happen. I have been the recipient of all of that. Everything that I just listed, I have been the recipient of that. I've been the recipient of vandalism at a pizza shop that I went to sign comic books for people. I was warned not to go there specifically. I was told I would be killed. My wife would be raped if I went. I left her home. I left her back at the hotel. I went alone. And the next day, the pizza shop window was broken and smashed in, just like Antifa, or more specifically, just like the Nazis. It was cruel. It was terrorism, the whole thing. And I know this from personal experience. Me stoking a dangerous group of fans that hate women, wrong. We meet up and we talk about Star Wars. We make fun of Lucasfilm under the tutelage of Disney. And we talk about how great it is to have independence and control of your comic books. We sell comic books to our audience, and we try to get people who have been blacklisted in comics work again. Now, I explain that. I don't think any of those messages are going to appear in this article. So, dangerous group of fans that hate women, people of color, so racist, misogynist, homophobes. That's the name calling here, and that's not okay, and Darwin will not be associated with it. Okay, this part's fine. All right, that's fine. This is all untrue, and this is the result of the truth, of the actual truth, and that's okay. I don't mind. I at this point I want to feel isolated from this, but I can't feel isolated from this because it follows me around, trying to destroy me. As all I do is basically, I do my YouTube show, and try to do Cyberfrog and try to produce comics that make people happy. This side of the industry, the comic book industry, which I don't want anything to do with. You guys, I got it. I understand. You want to be SJW controlled and dominated. I'm doing my own thing here, independent of you. So it's nice to be isolated. They're wrong. They're wrong. I am not. They're wrong. I am not stoking a dangerous group of fans. Not at all. And Darwin was also, again, here's the Elvis aspect of Darwin. He was also an individualist who trusted his own instincts, even when the crowd wanted other things for him. And I gave her this. This is the link to a video called Who is the Leader of COMICSGATE? And this is in reference to her talking about how the fans are dangerous. They hate women. They hate people of color. They hate the gay community. This is you guys. This is the actual fans talking about how you are COMICSGATE. You represent COMICSGATE. And this entire video is made up of people of color, of LGBT people, of women. That's what this is. And she refused to watch it. She said, I have no interest in your group and wish you personally the best in life. I hope you snap out of this cult hypnosis at some point. Cult hypnosis. These people say, this isn't Marcia saying, this is stuff that she's been told and offered by other people. I don't think she's really been watching what I'm up to and what COMICSGATE is up to. This isn't nice. I'm not hypnotized. I'm not really in a cult. They're calling me a cult leader now, so I thought that was funny, and I put it in my Twitter byline. Cult leader, Republican, your Uncle Ethan, human sunbeam. It's just cruelty. Can you leave me alone? Like, I'm so sorry. Like, okay, well, I'll settle for that. I miss you, and this broke my heart, and I want you to know I think about you both often. Please know you're loved. So that was the last comment that I made to Marcia. Marcia did go on and continued to call me names. Those, I don't think those things appear here. Oh no, it isn't the last time. This is the last time. So I wake up the next day, and again, Marcia is demanding that I tell my fans to apologize to her. All right, and are you ever going to tell anyone to apologize to me? I can't. I don't know who's. I don't. Everyone apologize. Everyone apologize. Yes, SJWs in comics apologize to Marcia Cook for cynically using her as a shield to attack COMICSGATE. That is correct. And for lying to her. It was Darwin's dear friend Billy, not me, who claimed him for COMICSGATE. And by the way, there's a reason why nobody's attacking Billy. It's because Billy is a member of the family. Well, Billy's the one who said that. So that's interesting. Everyone loves Billy. Everyone, I guess, hates me. So attack me. And I am disgusted by this whole affair. This wasn't fair to you or Darwin, Marcia. Sincerely believed. That escalated quickly. And Billy is Billy Tucci, who replied. And she said, yeah, don't throw Billy under the bus here. All right. Billy doesn't know what your group does and was kind enough to give you 5 seconds of his time. Billy is like hanging out with me all the... Okay. Billy's friends are quote tweeting him and saying that Dar offed himself. Yours are, Billy may be conservative, but he's nothing like you. Well, all right. He might be something like me. And Billy called me up and he just said, this is the statement that I'm writing. What do you think of this? And his statement was great. I mean, it was, great for Billy. He said, I apologize for any misconception that I claim my dear friend Dar for any cause. Twitter is a vicious home for those who'd never confront you in person. You all know where I stand with friends both left and right. Hopefully soon we'll all stand in the arena of civility. Hashtag CODA. I don't know what CODA means. He says, so he knows how to apologize. Ethan followed with, this isn't me. So this is what I mean by garbage tier. This is a person named Ethan, Pyrater. I can see why you'd be confused. Thank you for your strength. Your husband is loved by many and is a true hero. This isn't me, so this is not my apology. It may be worth noting that Darwin Cook wrote and drew this kind of thing and deliberately drew Wonder Woman so she was taller than Superman. This is irrelevant. Doesn't mean anything at all. Darwin did have, his politics, and he also, look at that. She's an Amazon. That's awesome. This is Darwin Cook's artwork, and it's this whole book is just great. It really is just great. So anyway, this is not my apology. I didn't offer an apology because I think I didn't owe an apology. I didn't say anything cruel. I didn't say anything unkind. That's that. What do you want from me? All I did say was that, yeah, if Marcia says it, if Marcia says Darwin would not have been COMICSGATE, then that's the way it is. That's just, that's how it is. So everyone in comics has chosen this moment to stand up against COMICSGATE, and they were waiting for a good, safe opportunity to do so. This is it. Look at these people. Van Jensen, I don't know what he's doing now. Jeff Lemire. COMICSGATE is based on fear, intolerance, bigotry, and anger. Yes, it's based on the fear of being a right-winger in comics and being excluded, being blacklisted by by the big two, the fear of being harassed by your peers, of being ostracized. It's based on the intolerance of SJWs who have infiltrated comics and who will not tolerate any dissenting views. If they find out you voted for Donald Trump, they will swarm and harass you. They will make your life hell for months, if not years, and you will find work drying up. The bigotry is that of the SJWs who cannot coexist with other people, and anger. And yeah, you better believe it. We are angry about it, but we found a solution. And that solution is to go off on our own and build our own miniature side industry, which is extremely successful, and I know scares the piss, excuse my language, out of these people. Richard C. Meyer tried to go on, I don't know why, but he got banned from this thing. Here's Art T. Bear. Look at Art T. Bear, who is COMICSGATE as well. And look at this. People are giving him hell. I don't know who these people are. I'm not really sure. Something seems to have stirred among the comics industry. When Marsha was the target this time around, Marsha was not the target at all. Marsha was not the target. Not at all. I mean, well, Marsha showed up and, all right. So most people, I mean, the industry knows Marsha, and I would never say a thing about her, but the fans, these younger fans, they don't know who she is. And so, where is it? Let me say. Oh, he left it out. I'll be right back. Let me pause this for a minute. So Rich Johnston of Bleeding Cool not only attributed a tweet to me that wasn't even me, it was just some other guy named Ethan. He left this one out right here, and this is what I think Marsha and the whole comic book industry was looking for. You'll see that it has a pretty high engagement, so everyone saw it. It was the most important thing that I tweeted during this conflict. Who is this nicest girl ever, says a young fan who doesn't know. They don't know who she is. Why is she important? She's Darwin Cook's widow, and I'd ask people to respect her and offer her excessive kindness, even if you disagree with her words. She's a lovely person who deserves your grace. And I stand by that. This harassment from the left, from SJWs, will continue. They will continue to do stuff like this, and they will. I mean, it's important to them to do everything that they can to try to regain control of this comic book monopoly. They can't have it. I mean, COMICSGATE is not what they say it is. COMICSGATE is entirely its own thing. It's you guys. I'm proud of you. You are not bigots. You are not homophobes or transphobes. You're good people who just want comics to be accessible, fun for kids, politics free, or at least no overt SJW politics. Thank you. You just want your characters represented well, and you don't want to be called names on the internet. Well, I understand that. I definitely understand that, and that is why COMICSGATE is going to continue and succeed. Thank you all for your endless support and love. Appreciate you so much, and we'll see you again soon. Hey, want to follow me on Twitter? Okay, cool. I'm at Ethan Van Sciver. Talk to you there.